Hey guys, if you click that link today, you're wanting to watch this quarter's or the fall of 2021's buyer's seminar where I go over all the hot topics and all the things you need to know about buying here in the Woodland Park area in the fall of 2021. So make sure you stay tuned to the end so you get all this great information and you know what to be looking for when you actually go out there to buy. It's James Dean with James Dean Mountain Real Estate, Killam's Client's Choice. And I just wanted to say thank you for watching my YouTube channel and letting me help you with your decision to move to the Woodland Park area in the Pikes Peak region. If this is your first time visiting my channel, make sure you click that subscribe link below and leave a comment if you want to. You could also give me a call or shoot me an email. Honestly, I've got folks calling me and emailing me all the time that are moving here to the Pikes Peak region, and they want to know exactly what they need to look for and actually schedule a time to sit down with me and go out and actually take a look at some of these neighborhoods that you're seeing through this area. So once again, whatever you got to do to get a hold of me, you can give me a call, 719-304-9772, or you can shoot me an email at james.dean@kw.com. I would love to help you out with making this decision to buy a home here in the Pikes Peak region. It's a wonderful place to live, and I hope you enjoy this video. So today's video, we're going to be talking about, this is basically our buyer seminar for buying in the Pikes Peak region or the Woodland Park area for the fall of 2021. So right in the middle of the fall season right now, getting into the holidays. Obviously a time that folks are starting to wonder, like, should I be looking right now? Is there going to be enough inventory? And those are big questions that we're going to answer today. So some of the historic numbers that we have from people that are actually moving or, selling or buying within the holiday season of Halloween all the way through New Year's, typically slows down quite a bit. Last year that didn't happen at all. So I just want to give you some basic numbers up front just so that you can understand where we're sitting right now and also discuss a little bit about what other statistics are being thrown out there from bankers in the area as well, so that you can kind of understand how you need to strategize your buying and your buying needs here in the Pikes Peak region of Woodland Park. So a lot of things that I hear quite a bit, you hear, oh, I'm just going to wait until the housing market bubble pops or until the downturn happens. I know it's going to happen. That's what I'm waiting for. And a lot of that's because a lot of us remember the 2008 time frame. This is not the 2008 time frame. You can go back and watch other videos to get the full specifics on this, but we're not going to see the same thing happen again because we're still seeing a ripple effect from that housing market debacle that happened back in 2008 when that bubble did burst, when we had a lot of poor lending practices, and it caused a major slowdown in building of new homes, which has then created this massive deficit that we're looking at now. Also, Colorado Springs itself, which is, the Woodland Park area and Pikes Peak region, is a demographic of that. Within Colorado Springs, Realtor.com came out and said that it was once again one of the hottest zip codes in the United States for real estate and what's happening with the lower inventory and the rise in costs as well. So think about that too. A lot of that's inventory based. We don't just have folks that are here within this area that are wanting to upgrade or wanting to move into a home for the first time. We've got a lot of folks that are moving here for the first time, which is causing more demand for some of these homes also. So just stuff to think about. We've also got other statistics that come down basically from Denver, and that's where a lot of our statistical analysis comes from, is the Denver metropolitan area, which Colorado Springs is forecasted to have similar amounts. But Fannie Mae is predicting that the average appreciation in the cost of a home year over year from 2021, where we're sitting right now, in the fall of 2021 to the fall of 2022, is sitting somewhere between 10 to 15%. That's pretty much on par, a little bit less. So it's a slight slowdown from what we saw from 2020 to 2021, but still that's pretty significant when you're looking at the value of a home. So, and you're thinking about, do I need to buy now or do I need to buy later? A home that you might be able to afford now, and we'll use an easy analysis, a $500,000 home, and I'll keep it on the low conservative end at a 10% appreciation rate. If you're looking at a 10% appreciation rate year over year, you're looking at that home being worth $50,000 more next year at the same time. So something that you need to think about as a buyer is do I have a job, for one, that is going to give me a $50,000 raise to make that difference in there, really impact-wise on buying style. Now, if you're doing a loan, obviously you don't need that 50,000, but that's still a significant amount higher. Plus, we've got extremely low interest rates right now. And when you're looking at the average interest rate that we're sitting at currently, that 2.75 to 3%, on average, it ends up being about $400 a month on a 30-year loan that you're looking at for every $100,000 that you spend on that. So if we start bumping up on the interest rate side, just a quarter to half a point can end up costing you several $100s a month. Now, the benefit of owning a home, obviously, over renting is you're never going to have your rent increased. But a lot of what we're seeing happening with the housing market, the rental market's going to follow suit with that. So you might have a comfortable rent right now, $1,800 to $2,500 or $2,600 a month, but that could change dramatically very quickly based on what's happening with the housing costs as well, with a savvy landlord and a savvy property management company that's going to increase that based on what the real estate market is. And you're going to continue to chase that rent year after year based on that aspect too. Whereas if you get a set home costs, you'll be good to go. So stuff to think about, sure, as you're going through it. I know a lot of folks are super concerned about, well, if I buy it super expensive right now, what if it does turn down? Well, let's talk absolute worst case scenario. Let's say that I'm absolutely wrong and incorrect, and all these numbers and all these statistics that different folks have thrown out there are wrong. And we do end up with a little bit of a correction that happens in 2022. Well, when you look at the past years, and we'll use 2008 as a great example because most remember 2008 and what happened. We had a massive, massive bubble burst and a massive correction that happened during that time. It only took 3 to 4 years for that to catch back up to where it was before. So the only time you're really going to have a massive loss in your home is if you decide to sell it if there is a correction during that time frame, which sometimes that's a necessity based on job moves and other things that kind of pop up. But if you're going to be in a home and you're going to live there for 4 to 5 years, I highly, highly suggest and strongly suggest that you look at purchasing a home. Now is always the best time to buy. You can't try to chase the market. It's got to be based on when you are ready to purchase or you are ready to sell if you got to sell and then buy. So definitely things to think about because you look, there's a finite amount of land out there. There's a finite amount of homes that are out there also. And you look at the basic supply and demand principles of what we have going on right now. Even if everything changed and people stopped moving out here, there's still a very finite amount. This isn't stuff like cryptocurrency that you can keep making and try to make it a scarcity type thing. This is stuff that legitimately is scarce land. So, which is why it's a great investment, and it's why most Americans, 60 to 70% of Americans, had the majority of their wealth built into their home that they bought. So definitely things to think about. So as we move forward and we're going through this buyer seminar for the fall of 2021, I'm going to kind of walk you as a buyer through all the things that we're seeing happen right now in the real estate transaction. So lots of the stuff that'll happen if you're not from here, it's coming out here, getting to really know the area. I'll take you around, show you those neighborhoods that you've seen the videos on so you can get a good idea too on the ground of what those look like. And hopefully those videos have helped give you an idea, but it's nothing really beats that, one-on-one type visual on that as well. I can also get you to homes that are within your price range so that you can see approximately what you're looking at for that price range and what style of home, the condition of the home, how much land you have, how much privacy you have, all in conjunction with the proximity to Woodland Park itself and how much further you get out as well. So you get further away from the amenities and you usually get more bang for your buck. So I'll get you out there. We go through all that stuff so you can see that and get a good idea of where things are and understand a lot of what I've shown you. So that way it means a lot more because of the videos that you've seen on there. So get you out here and do all that stuff. You find a home that you like and you want to make an offer on, and I'll talk you through and counseling you through this as well from what we're seeing, more specific stats for that, that particular period that you're out. But right now, typically, we're still seeing some pretty competitive offers that are happening closer to Woodland Park, specifically in the $700,000 and below range. You're going to see multiple offers that happen on homes that are priced correctly. When I say priced correctly, a home that's priced based on the comps that have occurred in that neighborhood or like homes that are close by. We still do have a lot of sellers out there that are seeing, they've talked to their friends like, hey, I got $100,000 over listing. This is not happening as much anymore. That was happening, 4 to 6 months ago. That slowed down, but we do have sellers that have decided to finally pull the trigger on selling their home, and they get a little greedy with that. So you'll see those homes a lot of times will sit on there a little bit longer on the market. And usually you'll see a price reduction when they kind of come down to reality on that stuff as well. So that kind of gives you an idea of what's happening here within the market itself. Plus, as you get further away from Woodland Park, you're also going to have homes that are going to be a little bit less competitive as well, just because you don't have as many people that are competing for that same home that want to be as close to all those amenities in Woodland Park and a little bit closer to get down to Colorado Springs if they need to. So that's just a broad overview of what's happening market-wise right now. And so you find your home and you want to make an offer on it based on whether there's multiple offers, based on how long the home's been on the market, long it's been on the market, how long it's been active, is how I'm going to structure and help counsel you and teach you about what we need to do and look at offer-wise. And it could be very different on each different type of home as well. But basically providing you all the information you need so that you can make the right decision of what you want to do with your money in the purchase process. So we go over that, we make our offer gets accepted, we go under contract. At that point, we go under contract. There's 2 huge obstacles that we're going to want to make sure we knock out as quickly as possible. It's going to be the inspections and it's going to be the appraisal. Now, the appraisal, depending on if you have to get one. Some conventional loans don't require it, and if you don't want one, we don't need to get one. That's an easy thing to just kind of discard on there. But other types of loans will require it. That sometimes could be the one that takes the longest. Typically, about 3 weeks after we go into contract is when we're seeing that appraiser come out, do the report, and then come back with that. But one thing that we can knock out immediately is the inspection. And the inspections are very important. Even if we end up waiving our ability to object to inspections, if we're in a competing offer scenario and you really want the home, we still want to do an inspection on the home itself, because that provides you the ability to find all those underlying defects, because an inspector's one job in life is to find everything they can that's wrong with the house. And that just provides transparency to you, because you're buying a used home, it's not a new home, you're buying a used home, and gets you the ability to actually see what's happening with that house that the seller might not even necessarily know or might have forgotten, depending on how long they've lived in the home. So we'll get that inspection done. And there's lots of different scenarios where if we're not in competing offers sometimes, or if the house has been on the market for quite some time, we're going to go through the full inspection process. We're not going to limit anything on the objections, but if we're in competing offers, we could ask for things like we're only going to ask for stuff that's health, safety, or structural related. So some major items right there. Or we can ask for only things that are above $1,000 in cost, so we're not going to nickel and dime. So those are things to think about when we're actually looking at doing these inspections and inspection objections that are on there. So we get through the inspection. If we are going to have objections, we get that stuff filled out and handed over to the listing agent. At that time, the listing agent is going to take those objections to her sellers, go over that with them, and this is where the secondary negotiation process happens. And in today's market, in a seller's market, there's not usually a whole lot of wiggle room on those resolutions. If there's major items that need to be done, and it's very obvious that whoever buys the house, they're going to have to get done, then usually the sellers have no issue with that. But the sellers, especially if it's a seller that doesn't have to sell the home right now, they're not contingent on selling their home so they could purchase their next one, they're going to be a little more lenient, or not lenient, but a little bit more leery on just providing a lot of objections or resolutions that go through there. So that resolution would come back in another form. It would be something that I would go over with you, the buyer, at that point, and then we would decide if, hey, this is going to work for us, let's sign it, or no, this is not going to work for us. We need to go back and forth on this and try to get resolution. Now, if we're unable to get resolution, then the contract is going to be terminated at the end of those contingency deadlines, which is typically right around a week after we go into contract, and we'll start looking for another home again. So it's always better to be out a couple $100 or a few $100s for an inspection and know exactly what you're getting into, as opposed to waiving that inspection, getting into a home, having no idea that the roof needed to be repaired or the septic was completely destroyed or something along those lines before you even purchase that house, and then you're just stuck with it at that point. That's why inspections are very important. If you decide to continue through and the resolution actually happens on on the purchase of the home, then we're usually also getting what's called our title commitments in. And our title commitments are going to be, they're going to basically have everything that's going to be encumbrance on the property itself, liens, mechanic liens, lender liens. And I always recommend to my buyers that we get the owner's extended coverage, which basically covers a lot more than your basic title commitment does. It's not very much more expensive, and usually we can get the seller to pay for that because that's them in good faith saying, yes, we don't have any issues with this. It's also looking at encroachments and easement issues with the survey potentially as well, if one is needed with an ILC, which is an improved location certificate, which is a kind of a watered down survey of what we do here in Colorado, because surveys can be so expensive up here in the mountains, but still gets all the general stuff that we need done with that. So with that title commitment, it comes in, I go over that with you. If there's anything that looks weird on there, a typical clean title commitment that comes out is going to have nothing outstanding on there, no weird liens. You'll probably have a mortgage on there that'll show up. That mortgage will have to be paid off at closing, which is what the title company does. And they pay that off to make sure that it's then the title is free and clear for either your mortgage company to put a lien on it, or for, if you're buying cash, for you to actually own the home outright and have a clean title at that point. So we get through the title commitment portion also, and we continue to move forward in the process. Now and I'm just going to kind of go over some of the other big ones that are coming up, and that next one is more than likely going to be the appraisal. Now the appraisal is going to be very important, obviously, especially if you're getting a loan and it's required. Now if we've put an offer in on the house that's at list price or below, I'm not concerned about the appraisal so much. We've already gone over comps with you to show exactly what the house is worth, to make sure that you're comfortable with asking that price on there. The appraisal is then going to go into the ball court of the listing agent to make sure that when the appraiser comes out, they get everything marked down correctly. They're marking down the correct number of bathrooms, bedrooms, dimensions, all of that fun stuff. So they get all that stuff knocked out to see what the actual true appraised value is. Now the appraiser is ordered by your lender, but they don't necessarily work for your lender or for you. Their job is to go out there as a licensed appraiser and assess the actual, what they believe to be the market value. They've gotten really good with this lately with what's happened in the market. Early on when the seller's market kind of kicked off, they were really kind of lagging behind, but now they've really kind of caught up with that. So if we've offered a price at list price or below, and the appraisal happens to come back less, that's going to then be our appraisal objection period. And we show the sellers what the house appraised for, and then it goes into another negotiation period to seeing if they'll knock some costs off the price of the home, or maybe they're not, and you're going to end up having to terminate based off the appraisal. Normally they'll negotiate at that point, or if you really want the home and it's just not worth it to you, then you will continue with it, and you've got the cash assets to back up the difference of what that appraisal said the actual cost of the home or value of the home was compared to what you're going to pay for it on there too. Now, the second scenario is if you were in competing offers and you end up offering more than the list price is on there. Now, list price is typically what the listing agent is guaranteeing the house should appraise for without any issues, because they pulled it from the local comps and they can show all that stuff to the appraiser, and the appraiser can pull the same things, find all that stuff to justify that price. So if we're buying a $600,000 home, and we're in multiple offers, and you end up putting in $25,000 over ask, so now it's $625,000. What we end up seeing a lot of times is, and I highly encourage it, because really you're just kind of blowing smoke if you're not offering this, but that appraisal gap. So that's your contract with the seller stating that if the appraisal comes back and it's only at $600,000, you've got the $25,000 extra dollars to make that gap up and continue forward with closing on the home. Now with that gap, 99% of the time they're gonna want this, and I always highly encourage that we do this and have it ready anyways to make this offer look as strong as possible, but you're gonna need those proof of funds to show that you have that gap. And the reason why, and I'll just get real extreme on this to kind of drive my point home, say that $600,000 home, you offered $1 million for that $600,000 home, but no, and here's my appraisal gap of $100,000, but I have no funds to show to prove that I've got that. Well, that really doesn't mean anything to me as a listing agent. And what I'm going to explain to my sellers is this is a high risk offer. This person's just doing this to try to grab our attention, but we have no idea if they're even able to come anywhere near that if the appraisal doesn't come in at $1 million. So that's why that proof of funds is very important. And it's liquid funds that are right there. And that's something that, we discuss with our team, with our buying team, so that it's going to be you, myself, and then our lender that's going to be on the phone also, and we'll all understand exactly where those parameters are for you as well. So we go forward on over or offered more than the list price, and we end up having to utilize that appraisal gap on there. We've got all that stuff sitting there. We're continuing to move forward. So now we're moving into the last stage of the purchase. Okay, and on that last stage of the purchase, what we're talking about is going in to make sure the resolutions were all completed. We got the receipts for it. The house is looking in the condition it's supposed to. And normally I ask for that 5 days prior to closing on there as well, which gives time to react and time to figure stuff out and make adjustments if need to be, if things aren't set up correctly. Now, we finish all that, everything's good to go, and then we have our final walkthrough. Now, the final walkthrough is not a secondary inspection. A final walkthrough is to make sure the seller's got all their personal property off the property. They didn't leave a bunch of holes in the walls. It's in acceptable condition based on the condition that was both seen at the initial walkthrough when we put the offer in on the home, as well as after the inspection resolutions were completed, just double checking all that stuff. It's usually just a cursory walkthrough, takes 15 to 20 minutes, doesn't take much time at all, just to make sure everything's good to go. And then at that point, and that's usually 24 hours prior to closing, at that point we're clear to close and we're ready to close. Now, important stuff to remember when you're closing is any kind of cash assets you're going to have, they typically need to be wired to the title company. And I usually suggest doing that about 24 hours in advance, just to make sure it's there and it's ready to go when we actually look, when everybody's signed, we're looking for funding. Some banks are going to take a little while to do that. Some will be right on the money, or they'll actually already have it there that morning and you can fund. And once you fund, or it's funded, and all those assets or all the cash liquid or the cash funds are placed in the seller's account at that point, then you've got possession of the home. And there's other things too, post-occupancy and different things that we could talk through at that point as well. But that's generally the end of the closing, and you've purchased your house here in the Woodland Park and Pikes Peak region. So if you've got, and I know that I kind of went over things with a broad brush, but if you've got any questions whatsoever about purchasing a home out here, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I'd love to help you out. It's very different. So if the last time you purchased was, more than a couple years ago, things have changed quite a bit with what we're looking at in this market. And there's things that need to be addressed beforehand, just so that you know and understand exactly what to expect as we're going through this as well. And just knowing exactly how to handle these different aspects of the market today. So once again, this is James Dean with James Dean Mountain Real Estate, Keller Williams Client's Choice. I'm one of your agents out here in the Woodland Park and Pikes Peak region. If you're moving out here and you need some help, don't hesitate to give me a call, 719-304-9772, or shoot me an email at james.dean@kw.com. Also, just make sure, once again, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe link down there and that like on this video if this video is of help to you, because that just helps me know what videos are actually super popular to get out there and help you guys out. But until next time, I'll see you later.